The schoolyard in the early morning was a beautiful sight. The sun had just begun to peek over the old tiled roofs, casting long, gentle shadows across the clean-swept grounds. Students in their crisp white shirts and red scarves chattered happily, their voices mixing with the sound of birdsong from the ancient trees. It was the first day of a new school year, a day filled with the promise of new friends and new lessons. In the corner of the yard, a magnificent phoenix tree stood tall, its branches heavy with fiery red blossoms that seemed to burn against the clear blue sky. It was under this very tree that Min first saw Lan. She was standing alone, her back to him, looking up at the flowers. She wore the traditional white ao dye, its fabric as pure as the morning light. Her long black hair was tied neatly in a ponytail that swayed gently with the breeze. Min was just a boy then, clumsy and a little shy, holding his new school bag tightly. He didn't know what made him stop and stare. Maybe it was the way the sunlight fell on her hair, or the quiet grace in her posture. He just knew that in that moment, the entire bustling schoolyard seemed to fade away, leaving only the girl in the white dress and the crimson flowers above her. He felt his heart beat a little faster, a strange and new feeling he couldn't quite name. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. He just stood there, a few steps away, watching as she reached up to touch a low-hanging blossom. A gentle smile graced her lips, a smile so lovely it could make the flowers themselves seem pale in comparison. For a long time, that was all he did. He watched her from afar, this gentle girl who seemed to carry a piece of the serene morning with her. The school bell rang, sharp and loud, breaking the spell. She turned, and for a fleeting second, their eyes met. That brief glance was enough. It was a silent promise, a story waiting to begin. As Min walked to his new classroom, the image of Lan under the phoenix tree was etched into his mind. He didn't know her name yet, and he didn't know if he would ever have the courage to speak to her. But he knew, with the certainty only a young heart can possess, that this girl was special. The first chapter of their story had been written not with words, but with a shared glance on a sun-drenched morning, under the watchful eyes of the old phoenix tree that had witnessed countless seasons of youthful dreams. Their friendship began with small, shy gestures, like tiny seeds being planted in fertile ground. It started one afternoon when Min's pen ran out of ink right in the middle of a literature lesson. He panicked, fumbling in his bag for another, but found none. He felt a gentle tap on his shoulder. It was Lan, sitting behind him. She offered him her spare pen with a quiet smile, her eyes sparkling with kindness. Min mumbled a thank you, his cheeks turning a little red. From that day on, they started talking more, sharing stories about their families, their favorite books, and their dreams for the future. Their daily routine soon included each other. Min would wait for Lan by the school gate, his old bicycle leaning against the wall. They would ride home together, their laughter echoing down the small, tree-lined lanes. On sunny days, they would stop to buy sweet iced tea from a street vendor. On rainy afternoons, their journey home became a small adventure. Min would hold his large school bag over their heads like a makeshift umbrella, trying his best to shield Lan from the downpour. They would walk close together, their shoulders brushing, sharing the warmth and the simple joy of being together as the rain pattered around them. Their bond deepened through handwritten letters, even though they saw each other every day. Min would spend hours crafting the perfect words, pouring his heart onto the page, telling her things he was too shy to say in person. He would slip the folded notes into her textbook when she wasn't looking. Lan would reply with letters of her own, her handwriting neat and beautiful, sharing her thoughts and feelings. They also captured their memories in photographs. One of their most treasured pictures was taken under that same phoenix tree where they first met, its red flowers in full bloom, a vibrant backdrop to their youthful smiles and innocent love. But their high school years, like the fleeting season of the phoenix flowers, had to come to an end. The day Min received his acceptance letter to a university in the big city was a day of mixed emotions. He was excited for the future, but his heart ached at the thought of leaving Lan behind. Their farewell at the train station was filled with unspoken words and tearful eyes. He promised to write every week. She promised to wait. As the train pulled away, he watched her figure grow smaller and smaller, a lone silhouette on the platform, holding on to the promise of a love that was now destined to cross the distance. Life in the bustling city was a whirlwind of new experiences for Minh. The university campus was vast, the lectures were challenging, and the people were all strangers. He felt lost and lonely in the beginning, a small-town boy in a big world. The only thing that kept him going was Lan's letters. Every week, a letter would arrive, filled with news from home, words of encouragement, and her unwavering affection. He would read them over and over again, the familiar scent of the paper, and the sight of her handwriting a comforting balm to his homesick heart. He worked hard, driven by the dream of one day building a future with her. A year later, Lan joined him. She had been accepted into a university in the same city, and their world lit up once more. Their reunion was a moment of pure joy, a long-awaited embrace that washed away the months of separation. Life as university students was not easy. They both came from modest families, so they had to be frugal. Their dates were simple but filled with happiness. They would wander through the city parks, share a loaf of bread on a stone bench, or study together for hours in the quiet corners of the university library. Their love wasn't about expensive gifts, it was about shared moments and mutual support. To make ends meet, they both took on part-time jobs. Minh worked as a tutor for younger students, while Lan helped out at a small noodle shop in the evenings. There were times when they were so tired they could barely keep their eyes open, but they never complained. They found strength in each other. Minh would often wait for Lan outside the noodle shop late at night, just to walk her home safely. She, in turn, would save a portion of her dinner for him, knowing he often skipped meals to save money. They learned that love wasn't just about grand romantic gestures, but about facing life's struggles together, hand in hand. The years flew by, marked by late-night study sessions, shared dreams whispered under the moonlight, and the simple comfort of knowing they had each other. The day they graduated was a proud moment. Dressed in their graduation gowns, they stood side by side, holding their diplomas and looking towards the future with bright, hopeful eyes. They had weathered the storms of distance and the hardships of student life. Their love, tested and true, had not only survived but had grown stronger, deeper, and more resilient. They were ready for the next chapter, ready to build a life together. Their wedding was a simple, traditional ceremony, surrounded by the warm wishes of family and friends. There were no grand decorations, just glowing lanterns and the happy faces of their loved ones. Lan looked radiant in a red dye, and Minh couldn't stop smiling as he stood beside her. They moved into a small, rented apartment, a humble beginning to their new life as a married couple. It wasn't much, but to them, it was a palace. They filled its empty rooms with laughter, with dreams, and with the kind of deep, comforting love that turns a house into a home. Life was a whirlwind of responsibilities. Minh worked diligently at an architecture firm, while Lan found a job as a teacher at a local primary school. Their days were long and often tiring, but they always made time for each other. The highlight of their day was their evening meal. No matter how exhausted they would cook and eat together. The small kitchen would fill with the delicious aroma of braised fish, sour soup, and steamed rice. Over these simple family meals, they would share stories from their day, discuss their plans, and simply enjoy the quiet comfort of each other's presence. A few years later, their small home was filled with a new kind of joy, the sound of a baby's cry. When Lan was pregnant, Minh took care of her with utmost devotion. He learned to cook her favorite dishes and would massage her tired feet every evening. When their first child was born, a beautiful baby girl with Lan's eyes, their world was complete. They learned to be parents together, navigating the sleepless nights and endless diaper changes with patience and teamwork. Minh would rock the baby to sleep, singing soft lullabies, while Lan prepared warm milk, their love for each other now expanding to embrace this tiny new life they had created. As their family grew, they faced new challenges. There were financial pressures, sleepless nights worrying about a sick child, and the everyday stresses of balancing work and family. But they faced every obstacle as a team. When Min lost his job during an economic downturn, Lan's steady income and unwavering belief in him kept their spirits up. When Lan fell ill, Min nursed her back to health, never leaving her side. Their love was their anchor in the turbulent sea of life. It wasn't a fairy tale romance, but a real, enduring partnership built on sacrifice, understanding, and the profound strength found in a shared meal and a helping hand. The years rolled on, and the vibrant colors of youth softened into the gentle hues of middle age. Their children had grown up and were beginning to build lives of their own, leaving the house quieter than it had been in decades. The frantic pace of their younger years gave way to a calm, comfortable rhythm. Min, with his graying hair, and Lan, with the soft lines of time etched around her eyes, found new joys in the simple, shared moments of their daily lives. Their mornings now began not with the rush to get children to school, but with a quiet cup of tea on their small balcony, watching the city awaken. They discovered a shared passion for gardening. Their balcony, once empty, was now a lush green oasis filled with pots of flowers, herbs, and even a small kumquat tree. Min would carefully prune the leaves, while Lan would water the plants, her touch as gentle as it was when she cared for their children. They worked in comfortable silence, understanding each other without the need for words. This small garden became their sanctuary, a place where they could nurture life together and watch it grow, a beautiful metaphor for the love they had cultivated over so many years. It was their little piece of a peaceful countryside in the middle of the bustling city. With more free time on their hands, they began to travel. They didn't go to faraway, exotic places. Instead, they revisited the places that held their memories. They went back to their old university town, walking the familiar paths and smiling at the memories of their simple student dates. They took a train back to their hometown, standing on the very platform where they had said their tearful goodbye so many years ago. One afternoon, they sat on a bench under the old phoenix tree at their high school, its branches now thicker and more sprawling, and looked through a worn photo album, their fingers tracing the faces of their younger selves. During this time, their roles as caregivers for each other became even more profound. When Min caught a bad flu, Lan was by his side day and night, brewing herbal remedies and making him warm rice porridge, just as her mother had taught her. When Lan's knee started to ache on rainy days, Min would gently massage it for her, his touch full of a lifetime of care and affection. Their love was no longer the fiery passion of youth, but a deep, steady flame that provided constant warmth and light. It was a love that had weathered all seasons and had settled into a beautiful, peaceful, and enduring companionship. The sun of their lives was now setting, casting a long, golden glow over their shared journey. Min and Lan were now grandparents, their hair the color of silver clouds, their movements slower, more deliberate. The small apartment that had witnessed their entire life together was filled with the laughter of their grandchildren during holidays. They would sit on their favorite balcony, watching the little ones play, their hearts full. The world outside had changed dramatically. Skyscrapers had replaced old buildings, and bicycles had given way to noisy motorbikes. But within the walls of their home, their love remained a constant, unchanging sanctuary. Their days were a tapestry of simple, cherished rituals. They would take slow walks in the park every morning, Min's hand held firmly in Lan's. His grip a little weaker now, but just as protective as it was when they were young. They would sit on a bench, not saying much, simply enjoying the warmth of the sun and the comfort of each other's presence. In the afternoons, Min would read the newspaper aloud to Lan, his voice softer now, as her eyesight had begun to fail. They had become each other's eyes, ears, and steady support, two halves of a whole, perfectly intertwined by decades of shared existence. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple, Lan rested her head on Min's shoulder. "Do you remember," she whispered, "the first day we met, under the phoenix tree?" Min smiled, a gentle, wrinkled smile. "How could I ever forget?" he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "You were wearing a white ao dai. You were the most beautiful girl I had ever seen." In that moment, all the years between then and now melted away, and they were once again the young boy and girl with dreams in their eyes. Their love story was not a grand epic, but a collection of countless small, precious moments. A shared umbrella, a handwritten letter, a simple family meal, a comforting touch. It was a testament to a love that was patient, kind, and enduring. As they sat there hand in hand facing the twilight of their lives, there was no sadness, only a profound sense of peace and gratitude. They had walked a long road together, through sunshine and storms, and had arrived here, still side by side. Their greatest happiness was not in what they had achieved, but in the simple, beautiful fact that they had gone through it all together, their hands held tight until the very end.